So welcome to English 100 Online. This is Critical Reading and Writing 1 for the University of Regina. I'm your instructor. My name is Justine Jenny. I'm going to be your instructor for this semester. And there are a lot of different ways that you can contact me. So through the course homepage, which I'm hoping everybody will become very familiar with and log in multiple times a week to look at any updates in the course materials or to correspond with their peers in the discussion forums. But I really want you to start getting used to the course homepage and all the materials on there. But there is a course email on the homepage that you can have direct contact with me, so you can definitely ask me any questions, or if you have any concerns, go ahead and email me that way. On the course syllabus that's available to you, you could also find my Hotmail address, and you can use that as well to send me a message if you have an immediate concern. Especially, I usually respond to that one almost right away. Other than that, I just want to use this introductory lecture just to talk a little bit more about the syllabus. So once you have it printed out, I want you to sort of read it completely, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can email me. But I'm going to just take a little bit of time and go through some of the core components of the syllabus. So we'll talk about assignments and some of the responsibilities and objectives of English 100. But in general, this course is all about focusing on reading and writing. So we're going to read a lot of different types of literature from all over the world, but written by men and women and across many different sort of time periods. So we're going to start out with our short story unit. So we'll look at some short stories and talk a little about the conventions of short stories, some of the literary devices that are prominent in short stories. And then we'll move on to poetry. So poetry has its own conventions or literary devices that are used. So we'll talk a little bit about those. We'll do a work of drama, so a play. We'll also do a graphic novel, so something a little bit more unusual. And then we'll do a novel as well. So a lot of different types of literature being studied in this course. And then other than that, you're going to practice your writing skills. So you'll be doing a lot of sort of short essays, that kind of writing. So there'll be some grammar instruction through little mini tutorials as well. You'll also get some tips on how to research. There is sort of a research component to one of the essays that you'll have to do. So we'll take a look at some ways that you can use the library, the U of R library online, and other types of sort of scholarly research sources. And so you'll practice your writing, and we'll also do some interpreting and discussion. Mostly that'll be done through the course discussion forums, and you'll be able to interact with your peers just as if you were in a classroom and kind of share your ideas and thoughts on the discussion forums. Okay, but other than that, this is just going to be basically an explanation of the syllabus. So if you want to follow along in your own copy of the syllabus, that's great. So I'll just read you the course description. This course focuses on reading and writing, on the primacy of language in forming our ideas about the world, and the role of literature in thinking, interpreting, and communicating. The course links the reading of literature, the study and practice of writing, and the tools of critical analysis. We will read works written by men and women in a variety of genres from early modern times to the present. So some of the objectives that are common to all English 100 courses These are sort of common goals we have for students, and so by the end of the term, we would hope for and aim for students to be able to write short formal essays that have a minimal amount of surface errors. So short essays, around 500 to 750 words is usually where we're aiming for. And you're also going to focus on working collaboratively with other students. So you might interact with other students in the course through the discussion boards and interact that way. So that'll be the extent of the collaborative work in an English 100 online course. We're a little bit restricted in that regard because we're not all in the classroom, but we can still interact and participate and discuss using the discussion forums. And that is an integral part of the course, so make sure you familiarize yourself with the discussion boards. And then you're supposed to be able to read basic university level fiction and nonfiction texts and to comment critically on their meaning and structure. So we'll be doing a lot of reading and a lot of interpreting. My weekly lectures will sort of help us, give us more focus on what we could look for in terms of literary devices and interesting features of those individual texts. But once you're reading, I want you to sort of start thinking critically about the text that you're reading. And then lastly, the objective is to summarize, paraphrase, and quote from other sources without plagiarizing. So you will definitely learn how to add quotations into your essays, but there's also there will be a sort of research component to one of your essays where you will learn how to use or integrate secondary sources, so sources that you found either online or through the library database or from a book that you find at the library. So how to integrate those kind of sources, reference materials into your own writing and not plagiarizing, so not stealing other people's ideas or not crediting where you got your information from is very, very important. And in all of your courses, whatever you take, learning how not to plagiarize is going to be very essential to your success as a researcher and writer. So the course text, so these are the required texts for the course. And there are, options, I guess, available if in case you weren't able to access some of these sources. But for the most part, it's best to buy these texts that we recommend. So the first one is an anthology, and this is where all of our short stories, our poetry, and the play are all located in this anthology called Literature, a Pocket Anthology by R.S. Gwynn and Wanda Campbell, who are the editors. And I gave you guys the 6th edition. But if you got a used edition, you should be able to find most of those same selections in it. So you have a little bit of options there. And as well, most of the selections that I've picked, so the short stories, the poetry, and even the play, are also available online. But I usually do an open book final exam, so it's kind of easy or nice for students to actually have the hard copies of the texts, because if it's an open book, you're allowed to bring in your course texts to the final exam, and if they're all online, then you're going to have to print them out anyway, so might as well just buy the anthology and make your life a little bit easier that way. The other 2 books that we'll be looking at are Art Spiegelman's graphic novel Mouse. And depending on your copy, so if you buy it, sometimes it comes as 2 separate books, books 1 and 2. And then sometimes there's the complete Mouse, which has both books 1 and 2 collected together on one bound copy. Either one would be fine, but just make sure you have both parts there. And I do have a little trigger warning here for students because that book does deal with some sort of graphic imagery related to the Holocaust and issues related to trauma. So if that was something that you would find difficult or wanted to avoid reading, then you might want to select Life of Pi to write about for the final essay. But for the most part, I haven't had any problems teaching Art Spiegelman's Mouse before with students, so I think most people very much enjoy that book, and it's one of my favorite books, so hopefully we'll have fun reading that one. Or not fun, but we'll learn something from reading that one. And then lastly is the novel Life of Pi by Jan Martel. And we'll spend a couple weeks on that one because it's quite long, but that's sort of will be our final reading selection of the term. But again, if I didn't put an edition on for that one, any copy you have of that novel should be fine that you find. Okay, and then your evaluation. So this is the breakdown of your assignments. And they're kind of spread out. So your first one's going to be due January 24th, and then you're going to upload them. So I've given you till sort of midnight on the 24th to upload it. That one's only worth 10%, so that's your first one. And it's 750 to 1,000 words. You get to pick one of the short stories that we're reading in our first unit and write a paper about it. And then your second essay is all about poetry, so you'll pick a poem, one that we've studied in our lectures, and then you're going to write a sort of analysis of that poem. And that one is a little shorter, so 500 to 750 words. It's going to be due February 7th, and it's also worth 10%. The third essay is going to be about the play, so Ibsen's A Doll's House. And that one will be due March 6th, and it's 750 to 1,000 words. It's worth a little bit more, just because I sort of tend to give more marks once you've sort of had a couple essays under your belt already and learned what to do and what not to do. So that one is worth 15%. And then your final essay, essay number 4, that one is going to require a little bit of research on your behalf, but I have explanations of more specific instructions about each assignment in the course syllabus. So make sure you read the descriptions of each of those assignments more closely. But that one is going to be due April 10th, and you can have a selection, so you can pick either Mouse to write about or Life of Pi. So if you liked one of those texts more than the other, feel free to sort of pick the one that you liked better to write about. And then other than that, you'll be evaluated based on your participation in the discussion forums. So there'll be discussion forums for every unit that we do, and you'll be able to interact with your classmates in the discussion forums. And there's a description, a much more detailed description in the syllabus of how to participate in the discussion forums, but you're really going to be asked to do a posting, a response about one of the readings for that unit, and you're also expected to reply to other students' responses as well. So it's meant to be kind of interactive and take the place of classroom discussion. So it's a good idea to sort of log into the discussions more than once a week to give your response as well as reply to your students' responses or your classmates' responses. And there are sort of due dates for those, so they're always usually your initial comments should be posted by Thursday, and then that gives you some time to read each other's responses and then reply before that forum closes down at the end of Sunday. And then that one's worth 20%, so don't ignore the forums. That's a lot of your mark. So there's 5 in total and then 4 marks each. So make sure you're quite often logging into the course homepage, looking at the discussion forums, adding your responses, and also replying to your classmate responses. So nice fun way to participate and interact with your peers as well. And then final exam will be sometime in April. I don't have the date exactly yet, but usually my final exam is an open book, like I mentioned, so you'll be able to bring in any course texts. No notes though, no lecture notes, none of your own notes, but you'll have a lot of options on the final exam, and I'll do an outline closer to that date where I explain in more detail the exact sort of layout of the final exam, but for now you just, make sure you have your April date set in mind, or at least know that it's in April, and then that one's worth 30%. So it's going to be it's going to cover everything over the course of the whole term. So the poems, the short stories, the graphic novel, the play, and Life of Pi. So all that material is open for discussion in the final exam. Okay, and then my policies relate to late policies. So there are deadlines on all of your assignments. However, if you are really overburdened with all your other courses, you can request one extension over the semester. So any one of your assignments, you can ask for an extension. And I like students to sort of keep me informed about anything that's, maybe going on in your life. If you have, reasons, medical reasons or whatever, for your lateness in an assignment. But unless you have a documented reason for turning in a late essay and you haven't explained yourself, or you've just been sort of missing or silent and you haven't asked for the extension, you will end up getting a late penalty, and it adds up. So 3% per day, so 3 marks off whatever is your essay. So if you're at, even if it was a good paper at 75 or something like that, if it's 3 days late, that's 6 marks off, so you're at 69. There's, or even less than that, right? So you can definitely lose marks quickly if you don't tell me that you need the extension, or you don't have a documented reason for having a late essay. And then once they're over 2 weeks late, I just won't accept them. So make sure you stay on top of all your deadlines, and talk to me if there's something else going on that's why the paper is late. But other than that, there is an extension, so if you need it, come talk to me, send me an email, explain that you need an extension, and I'll be happy to give you one. On the syllabus, you'll also read the section titled Student Responsibilities. So it does tell us that students are expected to listen to all lectures and complete all written assignments and examinations. Failure to submit a major assignment results in an automatic incomplete. The grade will be entered as NP and calculated as 40% on students' transcripts. You should also just read some of the other information included in the syllabus if you haven't already. There's information about the policies, the university policies about plagiarism, disabilities, and withdrawing from the class. And then at the end of the syllabus, there are a bunch of key terms. These are kind of literary devices that will come up, pop up over and over again in our lectures. So the second half of this lecture, I'm going to introduce us to some of the key terms for fiction that'll sort of get us in the right frame of mind for our first unit, which is all about short stories. So if you want to watch the second half of this introductory lecture, we're going to talk all about some of those key terms from fiction. Other than that, just read through the syllabus, and if you have any questions or concerns, email me and I can answer them or address any concerns you might have.